Coach, now that, we're a couple days removed, what do you make of that offensive performance, and have you seen anything like that in your career?
No, I don't think I've ever seen anything like that personally in my career, only in NBA games. It's kind of like what's happening in the NBA games, which is ton of skill, ton of shooting, ton of analytic kind of style play games. And so we had an eruption, and it was fun.
How special was it? I think everybody kind of throughout the season was talking about a possible breakthrough for Justin in a game like that. How special was it to see him get to enjoy something like that?
It's good for him. Happy for Justin. He's earned that, right? He's put in a lot of tireless work. He's in here at night, late nights, just putting in the work. And so it was only a matter of time, and it came at the right time. And happy for him. Kid like that to take the good with the bad, kind of stayed even keel. Gets down a little bit, but he never lets it hold him down, right? And so he's been able to rely on his training, right, and draw confidence from all the work that he's put in.
As coaches, how do you kind of control the expectations around him? Because obviously he didn't put those expectations on himself with like the #1 draft pick and top of the recruiting rankings and everything, but he has to live with those coming in. How do you kind of?
I'm sure it's hard for him. I'm sure it was kind of troublesome for him to kind of like try to live up to that, so to speak. And then you hear all the noise, and then you hear all the writers and all that stuff. Sometimes you just got to keep your positive voice at the podium. And that's something that we've been talking to our guys about. We've had a peak performance coach come talk to our guys and spend some time with our guys about feeding the positive and drowning out the negative. And so waking up every morning with your positive voice at the podium, and you start your day off that way. And I think Justin has took advantage of that, right? And he's getting a little bit of that coaching, and it's helped him in between the ears. And that's where the game is really played at, between the ears. And so as long as you can keep the positive voice at the podium, you can come out and have a breakthrough like that and, continue to do that as the season progresses here late.
This is kind of out of left field, but court storming seems to be a team that a lot of people are talking about right now, and you guys being a team that teams are traditionally going to court storm against.
Yeah.
Is that ever addressed amongst the team? And secondary to that, is there anything that can be done to kind of prevent an injury?
Coach Cal has had his share of those, even when he was at UMass, even when he was at Memphis, those have happened. And so we're kind of scripted to kind of sense when something like that is going to happen. So Coach Cal has a routine for us when we know that there could be a possibly court storm at the end of a game. But, it's tough, man, because we just had one. And there was some brutal stuff being said to us right there at the beginning of that court storming. And there were some kids that were really brutal with their language and saying what they were going to do. So it's kind of tough. You kind of – and I hate what happened to the kid at Duke, but I think they're going to probably do something about it now that so many people are kind of, complaining about it, or so to speak. And so now that it has a lot of attention, I think that there'll be an even harsh punishment on those. I know that now the punishment is a $100,000 fine and so on and so forth. But I think to kind of stop teams from doing that, there'll probably be some more punishment and some other stuff that they're going to do to get rid of it.
You guys got two of your biggest wins this season, being Auburn and Alabama, without Trey, being on the court. But just in this recent stretch when he's been in and out of the lineup, how have you seen him maybe step up and be, even from the bench, a vocal leader and being able to inform guys about what's happening in the game from his position out?
I think it goes without notice. We haven't played one full game this season with our full team. Not one full game. The game that he got hurt was the first game that we've had our full team available. And then that was only for 18, 17 minutes. He got hurt. He went out. So we need Trey. Trey is our most minutes logged player. So obviously he's an important piece of what we do. But we like our depth, and we like the ability to be able to play different ways. I think obviously having Trey's experience and all of that stuff, and he's like a traffic cop out there for us. He kind of directs traffic by being a secondary ball handler, right? We put the ball in his hand. We play through him a lot. We trust him. So we just got to figure out different ways to play with or without him. Have we done the whole season figuring out ways to play without this guy? These two guys are out. He's out. So it's kind of been like a musical chair type of thing for Coach Cal to kind of figure all this stuff out. And I think for the most part, he's done a great job, which he's the GOAT for a reason. I did say that. Coach Cal is the GOAT. Let's not get it twisted. I know everybody, he's the GOAT, okay? Wanted to make sure I made that clear. Anyways, he's done a good job of figuring all that out. And, we'll continue to figure that out. But we need Trey. Like, we need all of our weapons, right? What we're trying to do, we need all of our weapons. Healthy, mind right, game right, with the right mindset, we need all of our weapons.
Speaking of all these weapons that you guys have, and 10 deep probably, is it game by game where you try to figure out like who's hot, what routes are working together well, or do you go into it like predetermined, like this is what we're doing, or how's that?
Again, last game, the GOAT had a hunch. He had a hunch. He went with his gut to play Z with 4 guys that he kind of liked to see Z play with, and that hunch, was part of the explosion that you saw. And I think we met. He's got another hunch. He's the GOAT. So we'll see what happens with this next game.
Speaking of Coleman, he's made the most of his minutes this year. How much of an impact can he have moving forward with this team?
I think he could have a huge impact beyond the SEC play. It gets a little different beyond SEC play. SEC play is brutal, man. It's really physical, very, very, very physical. And I think that once we get outside of our conference, right, we'll play some different teams with different styles. And I think Z will be able to take advantage of that. But we got the rest of the season to worry about right now. Hopefully he'll impact us against Mississippi State on the road in a hostile environment. They got the cowbells and all of that stuff. So it's a different deal for us because every time we play on the road, it's tense out. It's just a different deal for us, and we understand that. We're kind of used to it now, but I think that we're in a different place with our team. If you look at us at the last 5 out of 6 games, our defensive output has changed. It's a lot better. You may not know this, but some of what happened in the Alabama game was designed. So I know everybody got up. Yeah, they're getting those layups, they're getting those dunks, but they shoot 40 threes a game, and we didn't want them to shoot 40. We took away all the threes. And every time they got a layup, inward, we were like, but you may not know that, but.
The last couple of weeks, really, where specifically have you seen the defense get better, just in general, not just that game? But
Just from a physical standpoint, we've kind of realized the rules that the game is being played by. And if we want to win these games, we got to play by those rules, right? And so we've stepped up our physicality in terms of just collisions, car crashes. There's a lot more collisions. There's a lot more car crashes. I think there was one coach, I'm not going to say his name, after we played them and we beat them, that he wanted to send in some film to the league. Me, myself, I was happy to hear that about our team.
Is that kind of Coach Cal actually said, look what the teams are doing to you and do that? Is that kind of what?
Yeah, there's just a different set of rules that the game was being played by, and then we just weren't up to the task at first until we realized, okay, this is how they want to play. This is how we'll play. And it's not fun if we start playing like that because we're obviously talented and we have the opportunity to do some things offensively that maybe some other teams don't have. But if we play by those rules as well, it makes us a different team.
to get that out of freshmen? And I know there's like DJ kind of plays with that attitude, but is it harder to get that out of a general freshman early in the season than maybe a couple onward?
The physicality and the speed is probably the one thing that is the difference maker from you coming from high school to this level, right, to the SEC, is the speed and the physicality, and you got to figure that out. Obviously, we want them to be great and grow, which is hard here, to be great and grow at the same time. It's a hard place to do that at, right? We get it. This is University of Kentucky. It's hard to be great and grow at the same time. We as coaches, we have a little bit more patience than everybody else. We know that we got to grow, right? And so we have a little bit more patience, and there's some areas that we knew we needed to grow at, and I think that we're growing in those areas at the right time.
Coach, what do you remember about the first matchup with Mississippi State? What did you like from them? What did you like from us? And what do we got to do to get them?
We did a good job of taking away a lot of their initial stuff, and they watch film. They're really good coaches, so they're going to understand what we did to take away a lot of their initial actions. And they want to play through their post player, Tolu Smith, and obviously they're not starting him now. They're starting Bell now. But they want to play through their post players. They're more deliberate than random. And so by being more deliberate, we kind of knew where they wanted the ball to go, and we kind of took some of those things away. We didn't shoot the ball particularly well. We only made, I think, 7 threes, but we lived at the rim, and we loved the rim. We just liked the three a little bit that game, and so we shot an enormous amount of free throws. And when you do that, you are the aggressor. So we want to go down there with the same mindset of being the aggressor. But the most important thing that we remember from the first game is that we control the glass. They averaged like 14 offensive rebounds a game. The reason why we beat them down there last year is because we controlled the glass. The game this year, again, will be won or lost in the trenches, and that's inside the paint, the hitting, the car crash, the collisions, coming up with balls, coming up with 50-50 balls, coming up with balls outside of your area. That's where the game is going to be played at. It's not going to be like we got to flip the switch. It's not going to be like Alabama. This will be a totally different game. There'll be car crashes. There'll be collisions. And we got to win the bump war. That's what we call it. Got to win the bump war.
Speaking of the glass, I don't think you guys have lost a game this season where you've out rebounded the other team. Just how easy is that to kind of point to a young team where saying, hey, if you do this and rebound, it'll be difficult. More than likely,
We emphasize that a lot because we understand, as you can see, the Alabama game, not many teams are going to beat us playing that way. I know a lot of people think that Alabama is better at that game than we are, but they're not. Nobody's better at that game than we are, right? So in order to, have a chance to beat us, right, you got to have a scout too, and you got to make it a more deliberate game, make it a physical game, make it a half-court game, make it a game where you can track down rebounds, give yourselves an opportunity for more possessions. But we emphasize that because we know, of course, how teams would try to beat us. And so if that's the one way they would try to beat us, then we got to make sure that we're on top of free throw line blockouts, long shots, long rebounds, which was an emphasis the last game against Alabama. Shoot 40 rebounds. They out-rebound everybody because they got a knack for chasing down the long ones. So we emphasize that. They didn't get any. When our guys are locked in, right, and we're a good basketball team, and it's just about doing that consistently for 40 minutes a game, every game, right? And hopefully we're starting to get to where we're consistent at what we want to be consistent at and what we emphasize, and that's it.
Going back to Z, Cal had talked about a few weeks ago wanting to see more from him defensively and really attention to detail on both sides of the court. I imagine if he hadn't grown, he wouldn't have had that hunch before the last game. Where have you seen him kind of pick it up?
I mean, Z he's a unicorn, right? He's significant in what he does. He's 7'2", skilled. He can pass. He can shoot, right? He can dribble for a 7'2" kid. For him, like Coach has said about him and Aaron, they're both highly skilled 7-footers. But unfortunately, this game is played in the way these teams are playing us by the new rules, which we are now read the rule book. Now we know how we got to play the game. It's a physical game. And so Z's got to show some physicality, come up with some balls in the scrum. And if he does that, he'll be able to show all the stuff that he can do on the offensive side. But it starts on the other end for us because we're going to score no matter who we put on the floor. We just have a team that is full of, again, what Coach always says, guys that can dribble, pass, and shoot. So we're going to score. We'll always have an opportunity to score enough to win. But we can't outscore everybody all the time, so we got to get some stops. We got to get some rebounds and stuff like that. So,
I think it was on his radio show last week. Cal mentioned the need for him wanting Reed to continue to shoot the 3-ball a lot. He's obviously one of the best in the country at doing it. I guess how deliberate do you guys want him to be shooting the 3, or maybe even designing plays that specifically with him getting a good look?
Very deliberate. We talk about it a lot. We want Reed to shoot more. Coaches on him about shooting more. Coaches on our team about getting him more shots. Reed is just so unselfish. He's not going to just hunt shots, right? Sometimes he does when he feels it, but he's not just a guy that hunts, right? He's not a pig, right? So, but sometimes you got to be a little selfish when it's time to be selfish, right? And we would prefer and would like for Reed to get more attempts at the three. He's one of the best three-point shooters in the country, so we would like for him to get more attempts. And we're going to try to do some things this next game to try and get Reed some more attempts at three. But Reed just plays an across-the-board game, right? He takes what the team is giving him. If the shot's available for him, he'll shoot it. If it's not, he'll pass it. If he got to drive, he'll drive it. He just plays a really good basketball game. And so he's in a good rhythm right now. We don't want to get him out of his rhythm. They go chunk up a bunch of threes. He's in a really good rhythm right now. So when Reed feels the need to shoot some more threes, he will, and coach is going to try to get him some more threes. We're trying that.
I mean, obviously he had the huge scoring explosion against Miami earlier in the season, but I'm sure it's been a season-long process trying to get him to maybe be a bit more unselfish and take the shots when they're there. So with a guy like him who's so, has an knack for distributing and feeding the ball to his teammates, how do you work on that with them? Like, how do you get him to recognize it's okay to take the shot, or we want you to take the ball?
Film. He's watching a lot of film. He's being shown opportunities in the game where you could have took that one. Like look at this when you come off from this, look at the basket a little bit here. So we're constantly showing them film and showing them ways to do it. Reed just plays a really good basketball game, and he will at times, like you said, he had that explosion. When the game permits for him to do that, he'll do it.
Antonio's only got a couple home games coming up. Where have you seen him grow from really when he got here in the beginning of last season to going into this final stretch?
I'm personally so proud of Antonio, being that he and I are from the same neighborhood in Chicago. Just to see where he's gone, where he's grown. I'm just so proud of him, the work that he puts in. And I told he and his dad and I we had a conversation yesterday even, and we were talking about it, and I kind of laid it out for him prior to how this would play out for Antonio, and to see it playing out exactly like I laid it out for his dad. Like me and his dad went to the same high school. He's a lot older than me, but we went to the same high school, and so I'm happy for him. The city's happy for him. But he's got a lot left, right? We ain't come this far just to come this far. He understands, like, we need to finish the season, get through the conference tournament, get to that big tournament, and that's what all of this work is building up to, is all of that stuff. Right about now is when hopefully you'll see a different Antonio. But I'm so proud of him, man. Just proud of him.
Have you also seen his mentality change or his comfortability, I guess? It seemed like for a lot of last season it was kind of like a deer in headlights a lot, stepping up to this level. But now...
It's because of our locker room. Character, not characters. We got character in our locker room, right? And so they love each other, man. They love each other. Like, it's a locker room full of high character guys who are not concerned with me, right? They're concerned with, so when you're with a group of guys that are all like-minded individuals and who share the same sentiments, right? You can have a cool level head. You can be that way, right? But if you're in the room with some characters, right, then it won't. You don't feel the same, right? You going into these games and you understanding that these young guys got me, I got these young guys. We having fun. We love it. We're trying to figure this out. We're trying to win. And that's the reason why he's at a different space mentally this year than he was last year. There's just a different camaraderie in our locker room.
Are we good?
Yep. Thank you, guys.